So, welcome to the Kids to Love podcast. I'm excited to have my dear, dear friend Leisa Nelson on this episode. And we've got a lot to share with you. So, hang on, especially to the end. But we were together, we're together a lot, but we were together last week and we were talking about this because we wanted to talk about our trip to Israel.
Yes.
Earlier this year. It's kind of feels like years, but it was
know.
months, kind of a fever dream. And there were so many people that were following that journey with us,
Right.
praying along with us to get us home safely. I was just at an event last night, and a guy said, "Weren't you in Israel?" And I said, and he's like, "Well, I'm glad you got home safe." I'm like, "You, me, and everybody else."
Right.
So I want to back up and talk a little bit about really why we were there, the significance of the trip, because that alone is so important. So, of course, Leisa and Rusty, founding pastors of the Rock, you guys several years ago stepped out of lead pastor role and still in founding pastor. So, kind of bring everybody up to date with
Right.
with where you are, what you guys are doing, and I mean, this is the ministry to Israel is such a core of a calling for both of
Yes,
y'all.
it is. So 2 years ago, we transitioned, and basically nothing was wrong. The Lord just said, it's time for you to go to your next. So for you to go to your next, I need you to step out of the way because of what I have coming down the pike for the Rock Family Worship Center. So turn it over to Pastor Scott and Brett Silcox, which allowed us to step into an arena that really the Lord has surprised us. We knew what it could look like. We had been working with Eagle's Wings for over 35 years. We've been in relationship with that ministry. But over the last 10 years, they've been taking young millennial pastors into Israel. And a lot of people, especially over the last several years, have thought it's just we're trying to shove down people's throats the support of Israel. That really could be a whole other podcast because we could dive into that theologically.
Right.
Just look it up scripturally.
Yeah, just check that.
Right. But what people don't realize is these trips is not just to show the support of Israel, but we have friends who are there, Arabs who are there, rabbis who are there, other missionaries from other different denominations that we get to step into that arena, show our support, love on them. They're over there alone. And so they're getting the backlash of what social media is presenting and what we continue to do, like Rusty is there right now. And since the war began in February, no one has been back on the ground. So when a delegation of pastors, they only went with about 25 this time, steps into the Knesset and meets with the government officials, or they meet with the rabbis, they meet with teachers, they meet with educators, they meet with people who are in the medical field, they meet with the missionaries who are there, Americans who are on the ground doing incredible things. It's just like the hug. It's just like, yes, somebody sees us.
Yes.
Somebody hears us. Somebody's willing to listen and to actually hear the narrative, see the true narrative, and walk it out with them. And so that kind of would segue into why we were there in February.
Well, and Israel's been something that's been on my bucket list for a long time. In fact, you guys are regularly taking delegations over, whether it be young pastors, in conjunction with Eagle's Wings, that is just a phenomenal outreach and ministry. They really did so much right and with excellence out of how they handled our trip, and we'll get into that. But you had invited me several years ago to go, and I signed up, excuse me, and then I just kind of felt like a hesitation in my spirit. And that ended up being around October 6th when the war broke out several years ago. So I was like, okay. So I remember last year I had come out of a meeting, and, Lisa's a friend, a heart for the work that we do. Just you're one of my peoples. And so I got out of this meeting and I called you because this was something I'm like, I need to kind of activate what I would call my prayer warriors.
Yes.
We got a lot of stuff to think about. And you said, and I love it, she picks up the phone and she said, I'm on a rooftop in Israel. Let me get to where I can take your call. I'm like, well, okay, rooftop in Israel. So we have this conversation, and that's when you share with me about the trip that you were planning for 2026, which was the Esther Awakening. So
Yes.
kind of talk about the birth of this trip, but also the significance of it
Right.
when we talk about women leaders going to the Middle East with how culture views women in the Middle East.
Right. So we've been dreaming about a women's trip for years, probably since 2015, 2016, because of the importance, especially for the woman's role in Jewish and Hebrew culture, and so which is very strong. And so we had been praying about this. We had moved the trip 3 or 4 different times. But we knew when this trip, we had moved the dates and intentionally moved the dates for it to fall during Purim, which was when they celebrate what Esther did. And that was Esther stepping up for the sake of her people, knowing if she approached the king, that it could be her life, but she did what she needed to do. So we were taking strong leaders in 7 different denominations, strong leaders, whether they were missionaries, school teachers, doctors, lawyers. I mean, we had a little bit of everything on this trip. And we filled 3 busloads to go. And I knew, especially when you were calling me in October, I'm like, and what we were discussing at the moment, it was an Esther moment for you. And our goal was to take American women to meet with other women to see what they're doing in Israel, to see how they are literally living out, doing what they do for such a time as this, no matter what they do, medical, educational, in government, pretty miraculous. And so it was this God-ordained 124 women getting ready to take on the nation of Israel.
I mean, it was all of that. Like there was just so much weight,
Yeah.
but not. I don't mean that in a negative way. Like I felt from the very beginning the significance of this trip, and so when you talk about Esther, of course, Esther was an orphan, so we have
Right.
a couple of things in common. But her stepping up to lead and to, risk her life, risk her safety for such a time as this, I just felt like with how we were serving with Kids to Love in our generation, challenging those in command to bring about better care for our children. It was a time such as this moment. And so it was so interesting because I intentionally had decided that I was not going to post on social media, which it's not uncommon. Like a lot of times when we travel, I don't post that we're out of town until after we're back, just for safety and especially
It's wisdom.
the girls and, my family and stuff like that. So I had made an intentional decision, which was kind of, I don't want to say against what everyone was encouraged to do, because everybody that was there on that trip, they were all, I would say, influencers of a voice in their community,
Absolutely.
from across the world. And so I understood that was part of the expectation, but it wasn't strict or strong-armed or anything like that. So I wanted to personally take a fast from social media while I was there because I thought, gosh, like this is the trip of a lifetime.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to lean into all these other women. I went, Rusty, Lisa, they were there, Ashlyn, Lindsay. So I knew a handful of people from our Huntsville delegation. So we left Wednesday. I flew into New York Wednesday. We did a red eye Wednesday night into Tel Aviv on Thursday. And then we hit the ground running. And so it was what I love and what Lisa's going to sell short is the knowledge that she and Rusty bring to the Israeli culture, from the Israeli people. So the night that we got there Thursday night, like we left the airport and didn't even check into a hotel. We went straight to, I would say, sightsee of notable places. But I was not putting anything on social media. So, I mean, and let me just also say, when I say fast, like that was a challenge. So nothing from, nothing. So we land to Tel Aviv. Everything goes well Thursday. Friday, we travel to the Sea of Galilee, which, just the significance of everything we saw was amazing. We get to the Sea of Galilee and we check into our hotel. Now, let me also kind of paint a little bit of a picture. The State of the Union address was earlier that week. The president was very clear about his position. So we knew we knew that there was heightened tension and there was heightened risk, but we also knew that the folks from Eagles Wings were watching it. Mike Huckabee was taking a delegation of men. So we felt, even though we were a delegation of women, that his trip was really about a day ahead of our trip.
Right.
So we thought, well, Mike Huckabee's going to definitely have an inside track.
Right. If he's there.
If he's there, he's going to know.
Right.
So his group flies in overnight Tuesday. They land Wednesday. So we're a day behind them. So there was supposed to be kind of, I guess, a layover the 2 days that we were at the Sea of Galilee. They got there Thursday.
They were in the same hotel with us.
And so then we got there Friday.
Right.
And Lisa texts me, and let me just say, I'm so thankful for you and Rusty, because you guys were very, how the whole thing was handled, but you were like, hey, I just want to let you know what's going on. So she texts me Friday afternoon. She's like, hey, come down to the room if you have a minute. So I go to this room, and I mean, they are in this swanky suite. And you know me, I'm like, hey, girl, how'd you get this upgrade? And that's when you tell me how you got the upgrade, which is, you're like, well, that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you about. Right. So I'll let you pick that up.
Right. So we land, and you failed to mention Caesarea Philippi, and you got to go where Paul was held in the prison cell where Paul was held.
And the birth of the gospel.
Right. So we leave that area, go to the Sea of Galilee. We have taken the women right there on the shore, where it's this place where Jesus was cooking fish, and Peter saw him. The disciples didn't recognize him. It's that whole beautiful story. That is where we were learning what was going on. Leadership, I'm pulled out on the sidewalk. You guys are down by the water. We're realizing what's happening.
Yes.
So we're stalling for time.
Yes.
Because we had just learned that it was about to happen, and all of Mike Huckabee's team was vacating the hotel very, very quickly. So we thought bringing 3 busloads of women while Mike Huckabee's team is exiting the building very quickly is probably not what we need to do.
Right.
So we just very calmly, waited until they had finished. And so, therefore, several really nice rooms were made available.
Yeah.
And so we had just learned the potential. That's all we knew.
Right.
We did not know.
This is Friday.
This is on Friday. So we did not know what exactly does that mean that he's leaving. So he obviously has some intel that we don't have. But in
Should we be following?
Exactly. So it was that tension.
Right.
But what we decided to do, because we knew we had that beautiful evening, it was Shabbat. We were literally pressing it because of how the Israeli people view Sabbath. And it's sundown on Friday evening to sundown on Saturday. And it is an actual reset for them. And we had that rabbi's family with us who was going to do our dinner and our meal and let us observe how they do that in the evenings. And we thought, you know what, God, you're going to honor this. You're going to be here with us. And so we did the meal with him, and then we went inside, the big meeting area, let him talk and ask questions and all of that. So everybody went to bed, and the leadership team, we all gathered to ask ourselves, what are we going to do now? What are we doing? And it was not out of fear. It was out of that word that you said you felt something. You felt that what that is, the Hebrew word is kabod, which is a word for glory. It's a word for that weighty presence, responsibility. That's what you feel when you enter the land. And especially when you've said yes to an assignment. We just had no idea that in less than 24 hours, our assignment was going to change.
Right.
So you felt that kabod. And so we're in that room. And so we decided, let's meet early in the morning. And we're going to decide when we're going to tell the ladies. So we all went to breakfast. And then you guys were going to go in the room and wait on us. We had to be on the boat on the Sea of Galilee at 8:15, which is a beautiful, beautiful experience. We tie all 3 boats together. We were going to have worship, all the things. So we ran upstairs to decide, do we tell them now? Do we tell them when we get on the bus? Do we tell them, or why don't we just wait until, let's don't mess up the time.
Yes.
Let's don't mess up this moment of being on the water,
Right.
where Jesus walked, like what you're literally looking at the shores of where every miracle, like everything happened that he did. And so we were going back and forth, God, and we started praying, God, show us what it is that we need to do. And the first sirens went off. So we're on the 3rd floor. We grab our things, we go running downstairs, and it's that moment of Americans have no baseline for what it feels like to be at war and to be a people group that are hated, like that they literally want you dead.
Right.
I know there are a lot of cultures that because of racism experience that, but not to the level of being surrounded by 4 nations that have, missiles
That are firing
attacking
at
you,
you.
that are firing at you, and you, the only thing on the other side of you is water.
Right.
So we literally are on the elevators, and then we got off one elevator and just started taking the stairs, and we're talking our plan because we thought we had enough time to make a plan, and the Lord's saying, well, here is your plan.
Yeah.
So that's when we ran in and we were able to share with everybody, this is what's happening, this is where we are, this is what just took place. And the kindness and goodness of the Lord is that we had not already loaded the buses. Yeah. We were supposed to be on the buses on the Sea of Galilee. We would have been on the buses as we could have seen the missiles, because I sat on my deck and watched the Iron Dome at work, which looked like a Marvel movie.
That's right.
It was unbelievable.
Yes.
But the beauty of that in an instant is I had 124 women in a room. And women, there's something about us that we know when an assignment is shift, we can shift quickly. I had a sound system. I had worship leaders. I had intercessors.
We just started praying and praising.
We just did what we knew to do. I mean,
I still get chills
100%
from thinking about that moment. And you make a good point. We don't have a point of reference. The crazy thing for me is how the provision that we had.
Yes.
So we were at Harp of David, Sea of Galilee. It was a fairly new resort that was built with a bomb shelter.
Yes.
When the first one went off, I think us being in North Alabama, we're so used to weather sirens going
Exactly.
off, that at first I was kind of like, is there a storm coming?
Is this a watch or a
let me call
warning?
Jeff Castle. What's
Yes.
the next ride radar say? So to me, I instantly defaulted to that. But then to see on the team's face of those who live there, the terror in their eyes, rushing, get to the bomb shelter, get to the bomb shelter. And so it was just a different level of panic.
And it would be like when we finally downloaded the app and we were your phone's just going off because of all the places where missiles are heading in from Iran, and you would get the notification. Some of them said you had 3 minutes to get to the bomb shelter.
30
Some of them
seconds.
said 30 seconds. And so it's feeling that tension and fighting the fear.
Yeah.
And so early on, immediately, and you were a part of this, Lee, I realized out of 124 women, we really only had a handful. Few of them were young moms with young children. Did we have a few have some panic attacks? And, we just don't live this way. Understandably
so. I mean,
we all...
I was surprised it wasn't more, to be honest.
Right. But out of that 124, we had seven clinical therapists, several of them trauma therapists. So we literally were able to, it was almost like an altar call for
Yeah. So
altar call
we
for
went to work.
therapists.
We went to work.
Yes. And so it was just this beautiful, okay, our assignment has changed. So we prayed, we worshiped, run to the bomb shelter. And then we would get released. We'd go back in the room, pray, worship.
Well, and at one time we were even singing in the bomb shelter.
Absolutely.
I mean, and it's so crazy. And we were joking. Now, for those of you who know me well, like I deal with stress and tragedy, and I think it's because of being in the news for so long, and it's you have to be able. We all have coping mechanisms, So I mean, I deal with hard things with sarcasm, which may or not be well received, and that's okay, So we were joking. So with Shabbat, it is there are so many rules and regulations with that, and the biggest thing is Jewish people cannot touch an electrical, And so I'm over here going, I respect that, but I can start coffee.
Absolutely.
I can start.
100%.
Where is the pot of coffee? So when we get to the bomb shelter on the main floor, it also doubled as like the back kitchen for the staff of the resort. They had the coffee.
They had the coffee in the back.
So we were back there. Chelsea and I were like, what kind of latte do you know? So we became baristas, like in the middle, trying to because we know in trauma that you cannot be in a traumatic state and eat and drink. But if you eat and drink, your brain automatically shifts upright and it makes you calm. So I thought, you know what? In this moment, we're going to barista some coffee.
Yes. You have to normalize something.
Yes. So, and that became something that it took the weight off of it. So, yeah, that's just one of the many memories. So that happened that Saturday morning, and I remember we ate lunch, and I was finishing lunch, and I just felt God say, you need to be a voice for this. And I'm like, but I was trying to fast, and the assignment has shifted. And so I do a Facebook Live. So, people who, there's people in my friends and immediate family knew I was in Israel, but so I just pop on a Facebook Live. Hey, I'm in Israel, just trying to be all calm. And it's so funny because then all my friends in the media are like, wait, you're there? And I said, yeah. So I just remember then the media requests started coming in. So I'm doing interviews, all across the state of Alabama and media. And but then the reaction of people praying. So we were told to stay inside because you could see the missiles. The big picture of the Golden Dome and Huntsville's role in defense.
Yes.
We got to be on the receiving side
Absolutely.
of that. So then it was around dinner, we stepped out on the back deck, and you were with me, and I'm like, okay, we're going to do a Facebook Live because I had so many people that were still, I would say, friends on social media that were watching from wherever they are, felt like I wasn't taking it seriously enough. You're like, this is legit a war, and I'm like, I'm aware. I'm not dismissing it. But I remember you and I, we're fine, everything's good. And so I think that was really, while it was hard and challenging and a lot of stress, as long as we were at the resort with a bomb shelter, I mean, we had plenty of food.
We
We
did.
found the coffee. You know what I'm saying? So,
did.
like, there could be a lot worse places to be
Yes.
stuck.
Yes.
But it was a long couple of days to be hanging.
Right. I felt like he knew that, and I think he had us there when our assignment shifted. You could not have asked to be to be in a better place. A 5-star resort with amazing food, with the chef there, and they even brought in coffee and water and desserts, and when
good.
they knew that we were going to kind of be hanging in that downstairs area, they took care of us. And so we were watching other teams be extracted a little bit sooner than us. We did not feel the release yet, in the pathway that we felt like we needed to take to get everybody out. And so we just waited. We waited until we felt the peace, and they had all the pieces of the puzzle to get us out.
And part of that waiting too, I mean, so you look at Shabbat, which was Friday, and then you look at Sabbath, which was Sunday. So the airlines, like, even if we could have got back to Tel Aviv, that was where all the bombing was happening, which we were about 2.5 hours away at that point. Even if we could have gotten back to Tel Aviv, we couldn't have gotten off the ground.
No. It's where everybody was going to get out.
Yes.
Including Israelis. So Israelis who have family all over the world, they're trying to get out as well. So we knew that is not an option, and nobody wants to sleep on an airport floor.
Well, and we didn't know how safe it would be to
Right.
wait either. So and again, you look at more than 100 women, how they're viewed in this country, and now we're in the middle of a war zone.
Absolutely.
So let's just stay where we are. It was so funny. There was another group at the resort, I think just one night, and it was getting ready for dinner. Of course, we had been in the room where we were doing, like, the praise and worship and having all of that was, you come out of that and then you go across this large atrium, and then the
dining hall.
Thank you. I was about to say cafeteria, but it was much more beautiful than that. It was across the way. And so somebody said they were sitting down, and I was sitting down just waiting. And this other group was there, and they said they thought that I was part of their tour group, and they said, "We've got to hurry. Those crazy praying women are going to be coming out and eating soon." And I said, "Y'all better get ahead of them."
I know.
And so when I said that, they were like, "Wait, y'all." I said,
I'm sorry, worship and intercession makes you hungry.
Right. I said, listen, I know some of them. They are crazy. So we had a lot of, I would say, lightweight moments. But when it got to Monday, that's when the elaborate plan was activated. And again, I can't say so many, just Eagles Wings and the team did such a good job of intentionality. Safety was a focus. So we left out on the buses Monday morning.
Yes.
And the plan was for us to leave Israel. They were going to extradite us through Egypt. And so I don't know that I've ever used the word extradited in a sentence.
Ever in my life.
So we get up and we get on the buses, and we know it's going to be so we were on the buses 2 days to get to Cairo.
Yes.
And then the goal was to fly out of Cairo. So as we are getting on the buses, it's call your family now, because we've got to turn location services off your phone. Okay. And then when we,
Can we just be honest? We don't even use that terminology.
Right.
So when I got that text and I had to make the announcement on our bus,
Yes.
that felt really weird.
Right.
Like, when do we ever do that?
Right.
Ever.
Yes.
And that thought process of my children for about 8 hours are not going to be able to locate where I am or hear from us until we get to the next stopping point.
I remember calling Jeff that woke up. It was so crazy. I had just this uncanny peace the whole time I was at the
Absolutely.
resort. And I woke up at about 2 o'clock Monday morning, and we weren't leaving till, I don't know, 7, 8, something like that. And I got up and I just started praying, and I sent texts to people that I felt like I needed to, and I shot a video, and I sent it to Jeff, and it was if I don't make it, please tell the girls.
Mm,
And
yes.
because up until that point, I felt so safe. But I knew that so much was out of our control,
Absolutely.
and we were so dependent on. But I also knew God had us. He hadn't brought us this far to bring us this far. But the reality of sitting on that bus, and we were talking about this last week with Rusty and Jeff, and how for some reason I couldn't read. I didn't want to get on social media. Like, I just sat there and just watched the desert go by. And I think about like all the times in the Bible stories of they were in a cave and they were in a cave. And at one time I'm like, how many caves do they have?
Oh,
A lot. And so the crazy thing
Yes.
about the landscape in Israel is for the majority, it is very much as, I would say, reserved as it was in biblical times.
Yes.
Very, like, they've done a good job in different places. So because of that, Eagle's Wings had to align with, okay, where am I going to feed these people on the road? Where can I put them in a hotel that's halfway there? So we start to leave, and we still felt, I would say, safe in Israel, even though we were headed to that border. Like, they were hauling it to the border. So that night, we crossed the Egyptian border, and it was all the people with machine guns. What you see on the news, we were in it. 124 women going across, and poor little Rusty, and Dave? Was it Dave?
John.
Dave and John.
Only two guys.
Yes, yeah. And poor Rusty and John are like, it's like, bless their hearts. And so we get there, and I remember took the passports up, and then you have to go through customs, and it's all of that. That to me is when it hit me of, we are not in Alabama
We are
anymore.
not. Especially, I always feel safe in Israel. So that first portion of the extraction is why we had no entourage like leading us. There was no police escort, no military escort, because you're still in Israel. But that portion of it never really even said this until after the fact. And of course, I had two of my daughters with me, who have families, and the mothers of my grandchildren. And so it was a whole process for me that I was having to stay trusting, believing, but yet it's the way we all live here anyway, that if you truly trust him, you just simply trust him. You may, like, we did not know what the process of this was going to be or what it was going to look like on the other side. That hour and a half, debarking our buses, us having to get in a straight line, Rusty looking at me saying, I'm taking the rear, which means you've got to take the middle section. John and Gwen will take the first section. But I had no control. Like, I could not see the length of my 44. And that moment, that's when you are truly trusting with everything within you until you get to the other side. And that whole hour and a half was probably for me a little bit of when I felt that I was never afraid, but I was feeling the tension and the weight of we're not in Kansas anymore. This
So much.
is unfamiliar.
Well, and the other thing, there are so many missionaries that are there, and connected with Eagle's Wings, connected through the rock with the work that you do. And so as we were leaving, we picked up two members of a missionary's family, and it was a dad and the son. The other son and the mom were already in the States for something else, and so when we finally got through customs and got to let me say this. So I was with them going through customs, and I don't know, to me, I'm always drawn to the kids, and I'm like, I want to make sure he was okay. The little boy was okay.
Yes.
So I just was like,
Yes.
chatting, how's it going? It kept me calm. I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
keep him calm. I knew the dad was trying to get all the paperwork, and I remember we go up to where they're going to stamp you for the country, and this was a brand new passport that I got, and so the OCDness, like I really wanted that like right beside it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I walk up and the guy just barks at me, and I just open it. So now it's like now it's way out of order, but that's okay. But the dad, like, because they do this so often, he like took the time to find the right sheet. And that just, I don't know, that spoke to me. I thought, it's okay. Just breathe. So was with them as they got across. So we get to the hotel that night. We eat dinner. We fall into bed. Get up the next morning. So this is the leg in Egypt, crossing the border, getting us to Cairo, where we were flying out of. So before we
Which
left,
is another 9 hours. We were looking
Yes.
at 9 more hours.
yes. So before we left Sea of Galilee, flights had been booked. So we knew that we just had to get to Cairo, and then the flights were there. And so I was with, we were all together on one of the first legs that got out. Although Rusty stayed behind to make sure that everybody got out. So he came home several days later. So another long day on the bus ride, and we had police escorts. There were check-in parts every, 25, 30 miles. They pull us off there was a dip in it. Of course, that many women, we had to find facilities. That was a challenge. I may or may not tell that later. We had to pay for toilet paper. We had to pay to use bathrooms. Just take it. Let's go.
Right.
So just all of those, what I would say, and I've traveled, in other countries, and know that America's facilities and accommodations are extremely modern. But we dipped over into Africa as part of the journey. And when we did that, it was almost like the team that was with us on the Egyptian side had lost their clout and their power. And we pull in, and they just start yelling everybody off the bus. And I was like, okay, this is when it's going to happen. This one's going to happen.
That was completely unexpected, by the way. We did not know that would happen.
Well, and so then they send dogs on the bus to sniff us. And one of the ladies that was sitting just a couple of seats up, the dog hit on her backpack. And I mean, and this, not that there were any troublemakers on the trip. I'll say that.
Right.
We were probably the troublemakers on the trip. I'm going to own that. I mean, but she was like rule follower, and the dog hit, and they bring it off. And so, she's just, oh my gosh, what is in my backpack,
Right.
And it was magnesium. And I thought, well, what 50-year-old woman's not going to have magnesium in her backpack?
Exactly.
So that ended up being kind of a joke and a lighthearted exhale for us. We got back on the buses. We got back into Egypt, got to the resort that night. We did a dinner. Took a while. Went to the resort. And we got, I'd say, in our rooms, it was around midnight or after.
Yeah.
And then we had to be in the lobby at 2:30, 2:45, and I was not going to miss that flight home. And so we got a quick nap. So then at that point, I think that so many people were following us that they were, then it becomes the text message outside of the update. We were also told not to post. So like we were
Right.
trying to intentionally, let me back up. We were about 2 hours from the border, and that's when we were told to turn our cell phones off completely. And you don't realize how connected you are
Exactly.
until you can't. And so, I just sent a text and said, we're about 2 hours out of the border. I will not be able to turn my phone back on until I get safely across the border, and I don't know how long that's going to be. So if you hadn't heard from me, that's just 2 hours to get to the border. So if you haven't heard from me in 2 to 3 hours,
Right.
I'm just, it's going to be fine. And so I think when we all were able to finally turn our phones back on, and then I think the journalist in me, like, I was wanting to turn my phone on and document all of this,
Right.
and it's like, no, your safety matters more than your pictures right now. It matters more than your video. So I remember I shot a video on one of our stops, but I intentionally didn't post that until we were probably 8 hours
Right.
away from
Right.
that. And then somebody's like, I can't believe you're posting. I'm like, bless it. I'm not. Like, I know, like, trust me, I am more
Right.
worried about my safety than any of you are worried. Like,
Right.
I'm getting home to my babies. But all that was just such I would say just so unnerving, because we're not used to that in our culture. It was a lot. So we get to the airport, and I remember we were all just like, just get on the plane. Just get on the plane. Just get on the plane. Get on the plane. Get on the plane. And so we got on the plane, and we were all kind of sitting back in the same little pod. And it was just when that flight got in the air, I think that's the first time I exhaled in about 12 hours. It was a lot.
I think I was breathing, and it had been 4 days. Just simply because when you're in that position of caring for that many people, and you really...
The weight of the leadership that you had.
It just was the weight of it. And you do not know, had nothing to do with whether I trusted the Lord or not.
No.
I just had no idea, what are you trusting us to walk out with?
Right.
God, let me do it well. Let me do it without fear. But definitely when we took off, I was like, actually, I think I fell asleep, and you took a bad picture of me with my mouth wide open. Thank you, Lee.
That I will never share, because I would not do that.
I think I finally was so
You
relieved
collapsed.
that I was
Yeah.
like, thank God. Thank God.
I think about when we were on the bus, and talk a little bit about the road that we took going out, and that to me was just the significance of how we were getting extracted.
Yeah, I think this is the part where I get a little weepy, just because of the intentionality of the Lord. And for those of you watching this, you may have no interest in Israel, but you just happen to hear this part right here. His intentionality and where he'll walk you in moments of hardship. It's the kind of God we serve. And so we're driving, and that's the thing about Israel. It's why you cannot debate with me whose land it is.
Right.
Because you literally are walking in live pages of the Word of God. And I love those people. I like to say their book is my book. Their heroes are my heroes. So much of the Old Testament is what we grapple with as Christians, and it's full of prophecy. It's full of encouragement. And so I leaned over to our guide, and I just asked the question, and the bus driver, I'm like, this is another one of those roads that's like not changed for 4,000 years. Ever. And they're like, oh no, like, this is the one. This is the road. The nation of Israel is literally smaller than New Jersey. And so it's just this little long, narrow, desolate desert that has bloomed again in so many areas. So we're driving, and I'm realizing this is the pathway that Joseph and Mary took when the angel visited them, when Herod was wanting to kill Jesus. And this is the pathway they took when they fled. It's the only way into Egypt, except we're going backwards.
Yes.
And I just had this moment of, I'm looking at the same landscape you're looking at the Dead Sea to your left, and we passed Sodom and Gomorrah. You're watching. She looked at these same mountains when she was having to trust in the unknown, that her husband had a dream and we've got to flee because they're trying to kill him. And then it was the same way the following day. And that was when we had the military escort and the police escort that every 30 miles they were flipping out cards. They would switch out cards. Just making sure that we were safe, cars in between each truck. And you're realizing this is the journey, especially when we got to the Red Sea. We're looking at the Red Sea, and this is the journey the children of Israel took when they were fleeing Egypt. We're just going in. We're going in the opposite, opposite direction. Who gets to say that they did that?
I know, and when I got home and everybody asked me, and I think that's why I've taken so long to even do the podcast. It's taken me so long to process.
Yes.
To even be, and I'll just share a blurb here and share a blurb there, and but life changing.
Yes.
Because it's unfortunately how we develop empathy is when we walk in someone else's shoes.
Yes.
Or on the same road, or so it was just it was amazing. And then so we take off from Cairo, we all crash. We get to Heathrow, and we were just like, we've made it to Heathrow. We were so. I remember there was a selfie that I took. Of course, none of us.
I don't even remember those moments. I know we took a photo, but I was like having an out-of-body experience.
Yes. So then we go Heathrow to London. To New York, London to New York. And so then we flew into one airport in New York. Did we fly into LaGuardia?
We flew into JFK, and then we had to Uber to LaGuardia.
Uber to LaGuardia, because LaGuardia is the only way to get
the new direct flight here to Huntsville.
And it was interesting because Lindsay, we were going to do a couple of days in New York before the trip, and then that's when the snowstorm happened. And so you're like, would you want to stay a couple of days in New York afterwards? And I'm just kind of torn of, And Lindsay said, no, I'm getting home to my babies. Mm-hmm. And so Lindsay was really tasked with the track home, and I thought, we literally are planes, trains, and automobiles.
100%.
2 buses, how many countries, land at this airport in New York, Uber to the other one. And
to get that direct flight, because we did not want to get stuck in Atlanta. Mm-hmm.
And we knew that we would. We knew that we would. And so
huge possibility.
When we walk up to the gate and it actually has Huntsville, it was awesome. I remember I got home and I had COVID, and I knew that I had some sinus stuff going while I was there, but it's kind of not unusual for me when I travel and all of that there. But I remember I woke up the next morning and I went straight to the doc in the box, and he's like, "You look a little tired."
Yeah, where have you been?
I am, but it's so interesting. We've joked that so many people, you guys were getting wedding dress for Annalise, and they were like, "Oh, you're Leisa Nelson. You were in Israel with Lee Marshall." I'm like, no. Lee Marshall was in Israel with Leisa Nelson. And then Emma had shared that one of her Bible study teachers, she had sent a text out for them to pray that her mom was on this trip to Israel. And he asked her, he's like, "Is your mom with Lee Marshall?"
Stop.
And she goes, "My mom is Lee Marshall." So we've gotten a good laugh out of all of that. But still to this day, I saw a couple at Costco a couple of weeks ago, and they were like, "We were praying for y'all."
I know.
And so I'm just been shocked at how this has resonated with people. Yeah. And so I just felt like, well, we've got to talk about it because we haven't yet.
I think it's the beauty of this community. It's why I love Huntsville so much. Yeah. Because people tell me, I was in Walgreens yesterday, ran over there, And I don't ever go to we used to live over here. I never am in this Walgreens. And the lady said, "Oh my gosh, I've not seen you in years, but I prayed for you. I'm so glad you're home." That's this community.
Yeah.
And it's just the beauty of them truly caring.
Yeah.
You know.
Which I think is a great segue to introduce your next. So, where do we start with that?
Well, Lee, I've worked with you for almost 20 years and we moved here in 99, saw you on TV in 2000, recovering from a surgery, and I was watching. This is our home. We're from North Alabama, but I had done a lot in foster care and adoption in Florida and didn't know where I would get connected. I'm watching you on the new news. You were doing your heart gallery and doing the pictures of the kids and talking about it. I'm like, being really careful. I'm leaning.
Here's your answer.
Exactly. And I heard the Lord say, then you will work with her. And so I thought that's what I was doing.
Right.
I mean, I have
because we've worked together for 20 years.
Yeah, and somebody jokingly said the other day, they're like, "My God, you have prayed at just about every opening and They're like,
and
that's like your job.
And thank goodness we have a lot of those. I mean, yeah.
You have been at almost everything, and the Rock supports the ornaments. We just support all things Kids to Love and Lee Marshall, and I thought that's what I was doing.
Right.
God always has a bigger plan. It's always exceedingly and abundantly anything that we could ever ask or think. So we went to coffee last week, and I'm like, hey, I'm here. We've been in this 2.5-year season of, finding our new footing in the transition. Rusty is literally traveling all over the world. I'm just being a Mimi, and our youngest is getting married. And so I just reiterated to you,
Yes.
I'm here, and I told the Lord I'm not asking for a job. If it's a job, she hears from you, so she's going to start that conversation. And so we did. And oh my gosh, like just a few days ago, it happened so fast.
It's officially official.
It is officially official. Here I am.
And so
Director of Community Connections and Strategic Initiatives, and thrilled and excited
so good
to jump into that.
Because we do have our footprint has expanded so much. Our service, I say this fairly consistently. Somebody asked me one time, what is your ultimate goal for Kids to Love? And I'm like, it's to go out of business. It's where we're not needed anymore.
Absolutely.
But unfortunately, there's a lot of hurt with kids in our community, and we just, with the generosity of the community, able to keep opening and, we're setting in our wellness center now where our studio is located. So we've got a lot of growth going on that we're not ready to tell you about, but stay tuned. And as a leader, what I have to do is manage, this is hands down, God called me to do this. And so everything we've walked out the past 22 years has been intentional vision, prayed over, strategically aligned. We had the video from Davidson Farms 10 years ago this month popped up where we...
On my first morning.
Yes, where we were praying over the farm
Yes.
before we ever opened it and welcomed any girls. And now we see 10 years
Yes.
later how just those lives and change and miracles. And so there's so much more to do. And I need help doing it and answering it for the kingdom. And so when Leisa said, I'm here, I remember I got in my car and I just felt like God was going, because that's how my brain works, if you ever need a visual for that. So I called you probably within an hour, and I said, kind of thinking about it. I said, let me pray about that. And so I think by Thursday, that was Wednesday morning, by Thursday, I felt like God had just, he had both laid it out, and I had probably 4 or 5 questions, not doubting him, but God, how does this, and what about this? And he just down the list. And so we talked, I think Thursday, and anyway, so officially started this week. So we feel like there is such a gap of churches in our community connecting with the work that we're doing. And so a big part of that is you bringing that in because you've got that firsthand of what the Rock has done. So if you're watching this and you want to get involved, but also to, you know, and you will understand this as a leader, there's very few people that you will trust to carry your armor for you, to know that you'll step up. And God has brought an amazing team that I have here at Kids to Love. I mean, I put my team against anybody. They are so good and gifted, and each one of them has been specifically prayed for and brought in, and such an anointing in their gifts that I see. But this became, my prayer was, God, I'm not telling you no. I'm just asking you, how are we going to do?
Right.
Secondhand. And then when you said that, I was like, okay, this is how we're going to do it. This is how we're going to do it. So now she's officially official. So I'm just so excited to have you here, honored that God brought us together so many years ago,
Yes.
that birthed a combined passion for the least of these, for his kids.
Yes.
A friendship that is so amazing. And definitely one of my prayer warriors. I shoot flares. I try not to shoot too many, but I have a lot of, prayer flares, as I call them. I need you to add this. But to have you here and to be part of the team and the greater mission, I'm so excited, and I'm so honored that you're here, and can't wait to see what he will do through your gifts for our kids in this moment,
I know.
for a time such as this.
Yes, it's going to be incredible. And I am crazy enough to believe the dream that we've both had, that we can shift things in Alabama. And Alabama leads the nation in so many things. And I believe that we can do that. And if we shift and we can create a model that will shift it for the entire nation, I'm just crazy enough to believe that we can do it.
Well, and last week when we were all having coffee, and Rusty said this, and I don't know that he meant it as provisional, but when he said it, I'm like, that's it. He said, what you've created with Kids to Love is the model that needs to be the national model.
Absolutely.
And when you look at the territory that is expanding and how we have privatized foster care and doing it better, and when I say better, that's, just this week, 4 of our children got to go home to their biological family.
Yes.
And we were part of that, the hard,
Yeah.
the intentional, the healing, overcoming addiction, a mom putting in the work to get her kids back, but she wasn't doing it by herself. I said, I text Beverly and Nikki on our team earlier this week, and I said, we got to do that because God allowed us to be part of that
Absolutely.
redemption.
Yes.
So I don't take credit. It's not within my power. It's because we all every day say yes, and we're crazy enough to believe that we can do it.
Believing it.
And I'm sitting in the middle of crazy
Yes.
of a crazy God dream right now. So we're going to continue to make foster care better, continue to be that national model, and just every day lean in and love on our kids.
Absolutely. And it's leaning into the support of communities. There are communities all across the United States. If they truly had the education, if they truly knew what they could do, but even more than that, just in the state of Alabama, there are over 10,000 churches. Just 10,000 churches.
And she's coming after you.
I'm coming after you.
For the
I
children.
am. Because it is a part of the solution.
Right.
It truly is. It's not this desperate cry of Kids to Love, of we need you. Yes, we do need you. It's us helping you understand that you are a part of the solution.
Well, it's a
You
biblical mandate.
truly are. It's a biblical mandate, and really churches are selling their people short
100%.
of not knowing what the ability is for you coming alongside. Is everybody called to be a foster parent? Absolutely not. Is everybody called to do something? The answer is yes.
Yes.
And so,
And we've got a vision of how to, I would say, engage the church more.
yes.
Let the church be the community that it is around the orphans in our community.
To do what the church does best.
Yes, yeah. So I'm really excited about this piece. So you know where to find us. We probably need to cut off before Chris's tape. Is it starting to blink? Yeah. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Love you.
Thank
Mean
you.
it.
Can't wait.
It's going to be so good. So thanks for joining us for this podcast and letting us therapeutically talk about being extracted out of Egypt. I mean, through Egypt, out of Israel. But to be able to share the story and welcome Leisa to the team. And we just can't wait to see how we're going to continue to change the lives of so many kids that God has called us to.